Hello and welcome back to the Imurgency Room, your favorite equally unscripted and unserious game show. Today's guessing game category is gay pop, where you can have the opportunity to guess which one of these artists is actually your favorite artist. Now this may be a tricky one, so make sure to keep your eyes and ears peeled. The options of artists we have today are Troye Sivan, Renee Rapp, Chappell Roan, and JoJo Siwa. Now I'll give you a second to guess which one of these artists are your artist's favorite artist. Oh, time's up. Your artist's favorite artist and the main artist of this video is Chappell Roan. Hey guys, what's up? Imurgency and welcome back to my channel. Today, unserious intro aside, in this video we're talking about gay pop, Chappell Roan, and how she may have just changed the music industry forever. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, then be sure to sit back, relax, buckle up, and get ready for an amazing video. If you are new to the channel though, you should definitely hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and follow me on my socials at Imurgency on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And if you want to get early and additional exclusive content, then be sure to click the join button today for as low as $1 a month to support this channel. But let's talk about Chappell and gay pop. The conversation over gay pop has been one that has shifted and been a little controversial and tumultuous over the past couple of months, namely after a certain JoJo Siwa got into controversy over claiming that she was gay pop and that she allegedly invented gay pop. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about when I say gay pop, I simply mean pop music that is made either by or for gay audiences. And after the JoJo of it all, big conversations started to happen over who is considered to be part of gay pop and who are the gay pop founding members and the artists carrying gay pop right now. And that's always been an interesting question because I feel like queer music are made explicitly for gay people have always been there, but it hasn't been up until fairly recently that a lot of these artists and a lot of these songs have become mainstream. Like you can think of the OG greats that made allusions to it and songs that really meant a lot to the queer community. Like I think of like Lady Gaga and Born This Way back in the early 2000s and 2010s being revered as a gay anthem and having Gaga be revered as a gay icon and a symbol and truly an icon for gay pop. And I feel like there's an interesting distinction between having a gay icon and a gay artist that is also a gay icon. Because of the nature of pop music, there are a ton of gay icons that are just pop girlies and aren't outwardly gay or queer themselves or really make music that specifically details and talks about the queer experience from their point of view. And that doesn't diminish their impact and icon status in the community. It just means that the music is coming more from an outside point of view. So you think of icons like Charli XCX, Ariana Grande, Sabrina Carpenter, Nicki Minaj, Beyonce, and pretty much a lot of the main pop girlies. These artists make amazing music that gay and queer people alike can really resonate with and rally behind and just love on because of their icon status and their lore, but they aren't necessarily a part of the community themselves. And honestly, that used to be the standard. It wasn't until fairly recently that we've started to see a surge in mainstream queer artists that are outwardly queer themselves, becoming not only gay icons, but just pop icons in general. You have icons like Lil Nas X, Sam Smith, Troye Sivan, Renee Rapp, and namely Chappell Roan. And I feel like Chappell's case is very interesting because unlike a lot of other queer artists, her rise to popularity has been very exponential. And for the gays and girlies that struggled in math class, that means it is booming. And though Chappell Roan has been making music for a very long time, it's all been within the last year and honestly within the last 6 months that Chappell Roan has been elevated to that superstar status, pulling in headliner-sized crowds to every single performance that she has, when most times she hasn't even been on the second line of the lineup. Where Chappell was initially performing for very small crowds and actually got dropped from her label at Atlantic Records at a certain point, I think it was in like 2019 or 2020, and kind of had to work her way back up. Like truly, Chappell is a story of resilience and a seemingly overnight blow up. Looking statistically at data from Spotify, also shout out Spotify for hooking me up with these stats because it made the research for this video go a lot smoother. Back in April of 2020, Chappell was seen as a fairly emerging star with about 49,000 monthly listeners, which is crazy to think that that was just 4 years ago. To now, or at least at the point of these stats being sent over, her having a total of 17 17 million monthly listeners, and I just checked today. Right now it's up to like 23 million monthly listeners. And I actually think that a lot of those monthly listeners came fairly recently. Just looking at the chart from the top of this year, January 10th of this year, Chappell Roan was having around 1.2 million monthly listeners. And even up until her iconic Coachella performance this year, which was in April, she was still sitting around 4.6 million listeners. So truly her career has exploded even over the course of the past 2 months. Like going from 4.6 million listeners to 23 million listeners in a little over 2 months is insane. It also speaks to the scale at which her career is going, as well as her just general impact on the music industry. And Chappell's been very open and honest about how this change in career and success has impacted her, with her stating both online and at a couple live performances that it's pretty overwhelming for her, and that's no shock.
I just want to be honest with the crowd, and I just feel a little off today because I think that my career has just kind of gone really fast, and it's really hard to keep up. And so I just being honest that I'm just having a hard time today. This is all I've ever wanted. It's just heavy sometimes. So thank you for that.
Because about a year ago, she had a little bit over 500,000 monthly listeners, essentially a pretty underground artist. Now a year later, pulling more streaming numbers than a lot of A-list artists out now. So dealing with that influx in success, perception, opinion, and critique must be a lot. It must be really overwhelming for someone who had been wishing for this lifestyle for all her life and now just getting it all of a sudden. And that kind of brings me to my next point, where I want to talk about why she's having such a large impact on the music industry and how exactly I think this is going to change the industry moving forward. I think it really can be broken down into 2 reasons why Miss HOTTOGO. Wait a second, can I do the dance with the mic in my hand? HOTTOGO, you can take me hard to go. Getting back on topic, for one, Chappell is giving us something that we haven't seen in the mainstream, honestly, since Prime Gaga. We're getting the theatrics, we're getting the stunts, we're getting the vocals, the performances, the energy, and genuine personality and themes in the music that people can really resonate with and is just generally refreshing to the music industry. Like I said, we haven't seen a main act like this in a very long time. And let's get into some of these theatrics. So it's no secret that the inspiration behind a lot of her looks and her whole persona stems from the art of drag and just drag queens in general. Like, I think the whole character of Chappell Roan is a drag queen. So her in that continuously showing love to drag and drag queens, and honestly popularizing it even more than it already is through pop music to audiences that may not already be in tune with that community, especially in a social and political climate as tense as we're in right now, where literally there's legislation and sentiment that is in opposition and honestly demonizing drag and drag queens is so powerful. Like, Chappell Roan has always had drag queens open for her shows. She constantly shows love and respect to the art of drag. In fact, her most iconic moment to date, which I quoted pretty heavily in the intro of this video, her saying that she's our favorite artist, stems from and pays homage to the drag queen Sasha Colby, who once said that she's your favorite drag queen's favorite drag queen. Like, it goes real deep for Chappell. And of course, in that there have been a lot of naysayers of Chappell, claiming that her support in the whole character of Chappell Roan is performative, in the levels at which she delves into drag culture and the community is very surface level. But it's clear that through her actions, intentions, and words that that's just not the case. And I think the fact that she puts so much care into giving those the flowers that they deserve, as well as being a part of the community herself, her actually being queer does play a lot into the authenticity of that. So it goes beyond just allyship and essentially becomes her just giving back to her community. And we haven't seen something like that to this level, to this extreme, in a very long time. And that kind of leads me into reason number 2, is that a lot of her music and the message behind it really resonates with a large group of people, both gay and straight. And she's also able to tap into a market and a community of people that typically don't get mainstream representation in their music. The gay girlies, the sapphics. Pretty much her entire album, The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess, talks about her experience both coming out and navigating her sexuality, and also the realities of girlhood and romance, which is something that's widely applicable to not only the queer community, but is also music that does not alienate either group, while also showing love and being super relatable to people in the community, if that makes sense. Going all the way to the point of Good Luck Babe. Like, Good Luck Babe is a song that you can just jam and listen out to, but it's about Chappell now being comfortable in her sexuality, dealing with a girl who's either not yet comfortable in hers, or is with a girl who's just not comfortable yet with choosing Chappell over a man, despite both of them knowing that Chappell is the better and the right choice. Which, might I say, is tea. Like, that whole premise is just mother behavior. being like, we both know what you want and it is me. And you can decide whether you want to live in your truth, live in what's good for you, or you can suffer for the rest of your lifetime. Choice is yours. Good luck, babe. Like, iconic. And Chappell's music as a whole is just fun and refreshing. Like, I remember first discovering Chappell through like a random Spotify recommendation when Femininomenon came on. I was radicalized. I truly was radicalized. Like, I had not heard anything that fun and that engaging in that camp in such a long time. In a space where music right now is very samey. A lot of things are samples. A lot of things are paying homage to things in recent past. This album and that song specifically just felt so refreshing. And I know that it was also calling on a lot of things that have happened in the past, but it was in a way that was not just a ripoff of a sample, was not a waste of a sample, was not a waste of an inspiration, you know? It just sounds different. It just evokes certain emotions that a lot of other artists aren't able to do. And while Chappell Roan is not the first queer artist to be making it big, she is definitely one of the artists leading the front right now, and I think she's only going to get bigger and more successful. And I'd honestly say she's one of the front runners in the sapphic music boom that we've been seeing recently. I don't know if you've been noticing, but not only are the gay boys up in music right now with Lil Nas X, Troye Sivan, and more, the gay girlies are up and are killing it. Like we just saw the past year, Renee Rapp have an amazing run, both on screen and in the booth. I don't think I've ever talked about Renee Rapp outside of the Sex Lives of College Girls on this channel, but her music and her impact are amazing. She's also an example of a Gen Z queer artist that just gets it, pays homage and respect to those that came before her, has a good grasp on the culture and community, and pushes us forward. Honestly, shout out to her. I could not have more praise to give her. You have recently publicly queer artists like Billie Eilish releasing music, being revered as a queer icon, Victoria Monet having her moment this year with the Grammys, the success of her album Jaguar 2 and the release of her music video for Alright, Tinashe, another bi queen, having her moment with Nasty, Kehlani coming out with their album and their whole rollout this era, and of course for the memes, the originator, the creator of gay pop herself, honestly gay pop Jesus, JoJo Siwa, having her moment earlier this year with Karma and the other songs that she has coming out. I have been seeing her perform at every single Pride across the country. That girl is booked and busy. She said, I am going to be the gay pop queen whether you like it or not. So queers, line up, listen up, and buy your tickets to my shows because I will be performing at a Pride near you. Like, sapphics are truly up. Sapphic pop and then just gay pop in general has been taking the industry by storm in a way that I feel like we haven't seen really before. There haven't been this many outwardly queer artists, not only just topping the charts, but also just being the most relevant pop stars of the moment. Like, the Gen Z pop girlies are in good hands, truly. But in this, there's been an interesting conversation online talking about what it means to be a queer artist versus a gay artist and what the difference is between those.
So I think a lot of people don't understand the difference between being LGBT plus versus being queer. Queer is a political, social framework and ideology.
And I think this is an interesting conversation just because of how the distinction between like gay, LGBT, and queerness sort of is in the context of this. Because like the creator said, it does seem to be like a conversation of identity versus ideology. And not saying that artists that fit into either one are better or worse or bad or good. Because one, again, we don't know these people. Two, everyone's journey through their sexual orientation does not need to be critiqued, broken down, and need to be perfect and packaged into their art right off rip, or really at all. But in my opinion, when I think about what the distinction is between like LGBT or just being gay versus being queer and queerness, I feel like just being a part of the gay community is just that. It's like acknowledging your own sexual orientation in the context of yourself and those immediately around you, and speaking on those experiences on a more surface level or personal experiential level. Whereas queerness, I feel like, is more holistic to all aspects of life and takes into account your experience along with the experiences of those that came before you and those that will likely come after you, and embracing what it means both societally and socially to be gay or to be queer, and also holding space to have intersectionality in those experiences for other people that fit under the LGBTQ plus umbrella. Like, that was a lot, but I hope it made sense. And you are free to disagree because I feel like this really varies person to person, but I would definitely agree with the creator with just like the vibe of it all. I feel like artists like Chappell, Renee, and Kehlani would fit under the queer umbrella, whereas artists right now like JoJo Siwa and Billie Eilish would fit more under the gay LGBTQ plus umbrella. if that makes sense. And again, not saying that one is better or worse or good or bad. That's just how their public image presents and how the music that they create presents. And sort of on this topic, when we're talking about things that may be a little controversial in my opinions, I do want to hold space to clock that a lot of the recent surge in queer pop and in gay pop has been revolving around largely white artists. Like the people that are front running the gay pop, the queer pop movement are mostly white women. And that's not a dig at any of them, nor is it any of their faults, because I do love all of these artists. But it's just an observation that I feel like we should always have a critical lens on and critically think about why that is. Because the last queer artist to really hit the mainstream and become super popular was Lil Nas X, with him being a gay black man. But at least in my memory, I don't feel like we've seen that representation in pop music for the gay girlies for a recent mainstream artist to be a queer femme of color. Like, to my recollection, the closest we've got is a Victoria Monet. But in terms of the mainstream star status of someone like a Chappell Roan, of like a Renee Rapp, of like a Billie Eilish, I don't feel like we've really seen that yet. And we should definitely hold space for that, because I feel like there is definitely room for that representation of that. And it's not like there aren't artists that exist that can speak to those experiences and really resonate, because there are plenty. The industry and us as listeners just need to give those artists that moment. But yeah, I feel like I've yapped on long enough. I feel like this is a really great year for queer people as a whole, and specifically for queer pop music. And I'm excited to see how things develop and progress further. Like I said, I'm a fan of all of these artists that I've talked about today, outside of JoJo Siwa. No shade intended. So I'm truly rooting for everyone here, and I think that the future for queer pop music is very bright. But now I'll turn the mic over to you and get your opinion. What do you think about the state of gay pop, Chappell Roan, Renee Rapp? Like, how do you feel about all of this? I want to know all your thoughts down in the comments below. Again, if you're new and like content like this, then you should definitely hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and follow me on my social media at Imurgency on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And consider hitting the join button to become a channel member today. But other than that, y'all, I've been Imurgency, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.